Hi, welcome to Seesaw Intermediate Training. And in this course, we're going to be looking specifically at activities. So we're going to be looking at your library, the community activities, editing and assigning activities, favoriting Seesaw creators, and creating activities without a template and creating activities with a template. At the end of this video, we will talk about the credit requirements if you wish to receive the optional tech credit for this training. So let's get started. So in the first Seesaw training, Seesaw Basics, we talked about building an account, adding students, and we talked about the add button, but only the first one, post student work. So under post student work, you get those 6 creation tools that you or a student can use to post to the journal. So this training is actually going to focus on the second option, which is assign activity. So I'm going to click on that. And immediately you're taken into your library right here. If you need to go back to your class, there is a back to class button right there. If this is the first time in your activity library, you will see nothing here except create new activity, and we'll be talking about that in a little bit. So you may want to hop over into the community library. Now this community library is full of lessons and activities for students that are created by Seesaw ambassadors. And the immediate default that you see on your screen is for whatever grade you put into the system when you create your account. So I said I was a first grade teacher, but you can certainly click on that and change your grade level. You can look through subjects. You can do a keyword search as well. Usually pinned to the top at all grade levels, you have these getting started activities, remote learning activities, and learning home ideas right here. So you see 116 activities, 13 activities, and 5 activities. So this might be an area you want to explore on your own. You do also have trending searches. So obviously home learning at this time is very popular. So you could go across right here. So if you wanted something in this section, you could certainly click on it and be taken to it. Down below, you have popular this week in first grade. And so these are things that are been downloaded quite a lot or used quite a lot. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to click on one of these activities. So this is a penguin activity right here. And I am not going to favorite it just for a second because I want to show you that down here you have 3 dots. And all you can do at this point is share the activity, which isn't a bad option. So I'm going to click on share activity and I can get that activity link right here and copy it if I like it, and I can send it to my colleagues. But the moment you favorite it, which means it puts it in your library, those 3 dot option changes. So I'm going to click on favorite. And I'll see now here that I have some options. I can add to a collection within my library, which we'll talk about in a second. I now have the option to copy and edit this activity. So if I want to make a change to the title or add some instructions, I can. I also have the option to remove it from my library from those 3 dots. And I still have that share activity. Okay. So I'm going to actually go back into my library. I now see that penguin activity. Now, it's very easy to get lost in that community and start pinning or favoriting a bunch of lessons. So we do recommend that you make a collection. So I'm going to show you an example of a collection you might want to be making at this time. I'm going to do my collections by weeks. So I'm going to say March 30th to April 3rd. So that is a week right there. And I'm going to say create. So I've got this little collection right here. So I'm going to make a second one for the next week. So that will be April 5th to April 9th. So that actually is Thursday. We have Friday, Good Friday off. So I'm going to hit create. This is going to make it easier for me to sort of categorize stuff in there that I may want to use for those weeks. So if I go click on this again and I choose the 3 dots, I can say add to collection for this week coming up. Okay. Now it still lives in your library. Okay, but if you want it to sort of isolate what's in that collection, you would just simply click on it and you'll see everything that you've got stacked in there. It just makes organizing your library just a little bit easier. let's say you like this penguin activity, but you need to make some changes. So I'm going to click it open for a second. And right here, I read through the directions. I can sort of look through the template right here. And the big thing for this for me is that I really wish that it was read to the students. These instructions were read. So with those three dots here, I can actually say copy and edit the activity. Okay, so at this point I can change the activity name, I can change the student instructions here, and I can add some voice instructions. So if I wanted to, I could hit this and record my voice reading these instructions to students. So for our young sort of emerging readers or struggling readers, that might be a really good thing to think about adding in. Once you're done, you're just simply going to click Save. And now in your library, you're going to see two versions of this penguin activity. So you see the one that was originally made by Tara, and you see this other one now made by me. So this was the copy and edit. So if I didn't want to get confused, I certainly can click on the original right here, hit the three dots and say remove from my library. And then I just have the one that I edited. If I wanted to assign to students, I just simply click on Assign. I have some options here. So if I just wanted to go straight to the class right here, I could just say Assign to one class. If I wanted to choose the student who is getting that assignment, so if I'm differentiating, I can choose specific students here. And I can place it in a folder if I want to keep it organized. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to submit this. I'm going to say all 5 students. I'm going to say Assign to class. And I can say, it says here, view activity in Ms. Thomas class. It will take me back to the class right here. So all assignments are located under the activities tab. So this activity is located in the activities tab. The journal only has the things that you created with that first option, but the activities tab is where you'll find those activities or assignments. It's the same for students as well. If you wanted to test out this, see what it looks like from a student view, if you click add response, you will actually be listed as a sample student right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. And now you can see what it looks like from a student view. And they always have the instructions up here at the top. So if they needed to relook at the instructions, they could. I'm going to actually close out of that. If you decide you don't want this assigned to them, you do have 3 dots option right here. And I do have the option to edit the activity again if I've made a mistake, or I can delete the activity or get an activity link. So I'm just going to delete that activity. And I'm going to go back in to the activity library. If you find something you really like, so I'm going to click on this Day 4 math lesson, kindergarten distance learning lesson. If you see something you like, it is entirely possible that the person who created it probably has more things that you like. So the names up here are hyperlinked. So if I click on it, I'll be taken to his page with all his activities. And you see he's a Seesaw ambassador, and you'll see he has 197 things published. Well, there is no way to favorite a person specifically, which I wish is something I wish Seesaw would change. If you see here, just share author's profile. Let's see what happens with that. So you can copy the author's link to his page and maybe store it somewhere, but it would be nice if they had sort of my library and sort of my favorite people over here. So what I do is actually I star it right here. So it's a bookmark bar. So if I start right there, the first thing it does is say the name is just Seesaw, but I actually change it to this guy's name. So Mr. H. Kindergarten. And I can actually click on choose another folder. So right here it just says bookmarks bar, but I can make a folder underneath it that says Seesaw. So that will make it easier for me to find. So now if I don't have much stuff on my bookmarks bar, but it is right here. And if I click on it, you'll see Mr. H. Kindergarten. So I'm going to do this one more time because there is a person I really like to follow in Seesaw. So if you know the person's name, so in this case, I follow this gentleman right here, Chris, you can put it in here and just hit enter. and it'll pull up his stuff. So right here, I can just click on his name and be taken to his main page. And again, if I find somebody I really like and I want the rest of my team to follow this guy as well, I can do the share author's profile, get the profile link right here and send it to my team saying, hey guys, this is a good person to follow on Seesaw. He's got a lot of great activities. I personally know that he does. He has 462 activities in here. He leads a lot of trainings for Seesaw. So I'm going to add him again. So I'm going to hit that bookmark this tab. Remember, it says Seesaw as a name, and that's not very helpful when you're searching. So I'm actually going to put his name there, so I'll know when I'm searching for him that I can find him. And I'm going to make sure it's in my Seesaw folder, and I'm going to say done. So if I click on my Seesaw folder, I now have these two people that I can quickly get to their profile page on. I did put my collections, I just wanted to briefly touch on this, as in weeks, and I'm thinking about our remote learning situation, but you certainly could make collections that were more subject specific, so you could do one ELA, math, science, social studies, so you're not really limited in that regard. So I'm in another one of my Seesaw accounts here, and I have this I can complete a repeating pattern activity that I've assigned my class. And we talked about if you wanted to view it as a student, you could certainly click on add response and you would see it as a sample student, but you have a gray bar right here. So if you click on the gray bar, you'll actually see everybody who's turned it in. So this is kind of nice to be able to quickly see who's turned it in, and then you can click on them and see if they completed that activity. So just keep that in mind, that if you touch this gray bar, you can see everybody at a glance instead of having to open each one individually. So now that we've talked about finding activities in the activity library in the community section, there may be circumstances where you might want to create your own activity. So to do that, under My Library, you'll click on Create New Activity. So the first type of activity we're going to look at are activities without any templates. So right here, I'm going to give this activity a name. So I'm going to call it Daily Journal. And you can type instructions for your students. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paste. I'd already done some. And you'll see here that I've got colon, add colon, colon, drawing, colon. There are Seesaw icon shortcuts. So if you put this colon, add colon, you'll get this image right here, photo. And I've got this shortcut, Seesaw icon shortcuts in this activity or this assignment in Google Classroom. So you can find that there. I can add voice instructions. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. You'll need to allow your microphone. And then I'm going to click the button to begin recording. Tap or click the green Add button. Open the drawing tool. Draw a picture of something you did today. Use the mic to tell me about your picture. Tap or click the green check to review. Tap or click the green check to add to your journal. Once that's finished processing, you also could do some multimedia instructions or an example here. So if you had a picture of a journal entry that you sort of wanted to model for them, you certainly can. I do not have anything like that. We're not going to add a template in this set of circumstances. We will in the next. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And it's going to add to my activity library. And you see here that I have these icons for the students that came with those shortcuts right there. So I'm ready to assign it. So I can click Assign and assign to one class. I can view it. And then remember, if I click Add Response, I could view it, and it takes the students directly to their creation tools, and if they need to, they can play the instructions or view the instructions, so up here, or they can listen to the instructions there. So this is the example with no template right here. It's just basically the instructions. When the student hits response, they get those creation tools and they follow the instructions. So now we're going to look at it with a template. So we're going to make an activity with a template. So we're going to click the Add button, Assign Activity, and we're going to select Create New Activity. So I went ahead and gave it a name, and I gave those instructions with the Seesaw shortcuts right here. And at this point, I'm going to add a template for student responses. So I'm going to go ahead. I found something online. So here's an Amazing Animals activity sheet. It's just a PDF that I found online. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to upload it. So I'm going to select from my computer. And actually, I'm just going to show you right here. I'm going to close this out. You have the option to add 10 images, so a JPEG file right here, or one PDF. And since I'm only doing one PDF, that's fine. Or I could put in a video in here. So I'm just going to do the one PDF. So I'm going to select from my computer. I'm going to go ahead and find that PDF. And it's going to upload here. And at this point, I could actually do some labels, record, add a snapshot, some other stuff I could draw on here. But I'm just going to say good. And I can add voice instructions if I want to, but in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and click Save. And it's going to save to my activity library. I also have the option now to assign. So I'm going to go ahead and assign it to the class. And we're going to take a look at what it looks like. So I'm going to click Add Response. And you'll see that instead of getting those creation tools in the last example where there was no template, students are taken immediately into the template, into their drawing tools. And so they can view their instructions up here. And they can use their tools to fill this out and turn it in. Now that was one PDF. So remember, when you go to click and assign activity and you go to create new activity, and you come down here to add a template for student responses and you want to upload, you are limited to one PDF but 10 images. So let me show you how that works. So I went online and I found these worksheets. So this is the one you saw earlier, but I also have Spring is Here, Spring Reading Readiness, and another Reading Readiness. So I can actually use my snipping tool. So I'm going to go ahead and I am just going to snip this. And if I snip it, it turns it into a picture file versus a PDF. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to save the snip as, let me just go to my desktop right here. And I'm just going to say picture 1. I'm going to go to the next one, and I'm going to use my snipping tool here. Just take a little snip of that. And I'm going to say picture 2. So P2. I'm going to do the same thing with the next one. So again, that's the snipping tool. All the computers have it. I'm going to hit save. Call this picture 3. So I'm just taking pictures of these PDF files, and I'm going to do the last one right here. All right, and I'm going to save that as picture 4. Now I'm going to go back in. And I'm going to select from my computer, and because they are images, okay, and they're on my desktop, and I'm going to look for the picture 1, picture 2, picture 3, picture 4. I'm going to say open. It's going to put all of those in there. I'm going to do the green check mark. And the kids now have these activities. They have more than one activity right there, so they can still complete them. I'm going to go ahead and do a check mark. And I'm going to complete the naming of this activity. So you see I got a little bit lazy when I was sort of doing the student instructions, but I named it ELA practice, and I say complete the 4 activities in the assignment and turn in when done. They've got the 4. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. I'm going to hit assign when it comes up. assign it to the class, and we're going to go take a look at it. So again, I'm going to click Add Response. So this is an interesting workaround. So if you wanted to put multiple work inside of one activity, you certainly can, just so long as those sheets are JPEGs versus PDFs. The next type of activity we're going to talk about are drag and drop activities. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my activity library. I'm going to say Create New Activity, and I'm going to add a template. So in this case, I'm going to upload. I'm going to select from my computer, and I found this picture of a plant that I want the kids to label. So I'm going to hit the check mark, and it's going to take me to this area right here. So at this point, I can actually use the text boxes right here, and I can create labels that the kids can drag and drop. So if I have petal, okay, I can sort of resize the box, move it around, and do the next one will be stem. And if I want to, I can get super fancy with the box right here. So I can click, I can lock the box down if I want to. Just move this out of the way right here. I can change the style of the box. So if I want it, let me see, if I want it comic, I can do that. I can do script. I can change, let me do feather. Let's do comic. And I can change the box style. I can change the inside outside look. So I'm just going to show you that's what that looks like right there. So I can change it. I'm going to add another drag and drop, and that's going to be leaf. And I'm going to do one last one, and that's going to be roots. So obviously I probably want my boxes a little more consistent. I'm just going to just show you that. So once I add these in, the picture is not going to be movable. It's a static picture. However, these will become movable for the students. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the check mark right there, and I'll fill in this information. So here's my finished label the parts of a plant. I'm going to click Add Response to test it out. And you see these become draggable. So they can put them in the right location and turn in when they're done. You do have the ability to create a template outside of Seesaw. So right here I used Google Drawings, and I have roots, petal, leaf, stem, and these are draggable within this program. However, if I go ahead and go to File and Download as a JPEG right here, and I go back in to create that assignment, those items will not be draggable. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that. So I'm going to upload it. I'm going to select it from my computer. It's in my downloads. I'm going to click that check. These no longer are draggable, they're static. So if you want draggable items, they have to be made in this section of the creation process. So with those labels right there, that is the only way you can get a draggable activity. So please keep that in mind. So that completes our overview of Seesaw and activities, from how to find them in the community, how to edit them, how to assign them, how to favorite Seesaw creators, creating activities with a template, without a template. So if you are not interested in receiving credit, you are free to leave and close out this video. But if you are interested, you will need to submit the following items. So you'll need to complete a reflection. You need to provide evidence of a collection in your library, evidence of one found lesson in your library, evidence of one created lesson in your library, and evidence of one activity you've actually assigned. So let's take a look at that. First, you'll need to go to Google Drive. You'll need to start a new Google Doc and rename it Seesaw Intermediate. The first piece of evidence you are going to need to submit is a screenshot of a collection in your library. So right here, I'm going to use the computer snipping tool. I'm going to take a snip of the library right here, and I'm going to add it to my Google Doc. The next piece of evidence I need to snip is something in my library that I have favorited from somebody else. So right here, this is Brittany Howell. So I got that from the library. I'm going to go ahead and click New. And I'm just going to sort of snip that, sort of check that off. And I'm going to add that to my Google Doc for number 2. The next thing you'll need to take a snip of is a lesson that you've created. So down here, it says here, Betsy Thomas, who I'm kind of working under right here. It also says it for this animal research, but this is just an edited assignment, so it's not really one you create it. So I want one that you've created. So I'm going to go ahead and use the snipping tool. And I'm going to snip. I need to make sure that I see your name there. And now I'm going to add that to evidence number 3. The last piece of evidence that needs to be submitted is a screenshot of actually having assigned an activity. So you will take your snipping tool right here, and you'll get a little snip. You need to make sure the activities tab is shown, as well as this, and you'll submit that as evidence number 4. You'll come back to the virtual tech training, open up Seesaw Intermediate, select View Assignment. You're going to take this short reflection, and then you're going to add your Google Doc. You'll select Turn In and then Turn In again.